Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
You are listening to the FinFans podcast, where we discuss everything Miami Dolphins. It's the off season, and we're looking forward to a fresh new start under different management in 2026. We hope you'll join us and enjoy the show. And it is another FinFans podcast. With me today are the Ragones. Lewis, welcome back.
Hey, welcome back. Oh, did I miss a show? I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Uh-huh.
The weeks are just flying by.
Yeah, I need that theme song from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Happy days are here again.
That's not the theme song.
Yeah, well, no, I'm singing that because football season's upon us. You know.
Hey, Chris.
What's up, Mike? What's up, everybody?
Today, it's late. It's after 10 o'clock. But today they scrimmaged against the Washington Redskins, and there was some talk about that, and we'll do the same. And obviously the Dolphins made a trade. We'll talk a little bit about our thoughts about the trade and go over some transactions and talk a few other things. Well, let's start off with the trade. The Patriots sent us offensive tackle/guard Caden Wallace and 2029 7th-round draft pick in exchange for our 2028 6th-round draft pick. Now, this gentleman is 6'5", 320 pounds, and this year he'll be making $1.34 million.
No,
Any thoughts on the trade, Chris?
Yep, it's interesting. I mean, we were just talking about Charlie Heck the other day, and on this updated depth chart that they released yesterday, the team, they have second string behind Austin Jackson as Charlie Heck or this new guy, Cason Wallace. So obviously they think high of him. I mean, us getting him for a 7th-round pick, I mean, I'm not expecting anything crazy, but he'll be hopefully a nice addition to the room. I mean, with Austin Jackson still down, this guy may end up fighting for a starting position. So, I'm trying not to have my expectations too high for him, just given the fact, like I said, of what we gave up. And, New England's offensive line wasn't the greatest last year. So, I mean, it's not like they have studs at every position and they could afford to lose them. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
Yep. Lewis?
Well, they're a division rival. They're not going to give us anybody as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they were going to waive him. And the news came across that they were going to waive him, and that's when Miami presented them with an offer.
Right. They jumped in.
So
he didn't hit the free
waivers.
agent. Right. The free agent market. So the Patriots probably fell. But again, Mike, any team could have did that,
Yep.
right? And, we did. I mean, obviously they see something in him. I mean, we don't know. I don't know enough about this guy to really sit there and make comments. But what I do know is that if I'm a Miami Dolphin fan and the Dolphins are basically making a trade with the Patriots, I mean, it can't be a player that they're overly concerned with. They're probably licking their chops saying, oh, good. If this guy's their starting right tackle, it's going to benefit us. Plus, we get a 6th-round draft pick for him. That's the way I look at it. I'm just looking at it in a comedic way. But, hopefully this guy, he's another body at a position that we need bodies. So, hopefully he's at least somewhat decent of a football player. But, time will tell.
He's been hurt. He hasn't really had, a lot of opportunity. I mean, he did play a little bit, but he's been hurt.
Little bit.
Yep. And,
little bit.
This is a year when we are developing players, so why not take a chance on a guy like this, right?
Sure.
He's 6'5", 320. He's not a midget,
Right. Yep.
And if they can get him going, either a tackle or a guard, it's certainly not going to hurt us.
No. And so, like I said, it's a body.
Yeah.
And we need bodies across that offensive line. The guys that are starting look like a pretty good group. But past that, then there's some issues. So, we need the bodies, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right. What do we get next?
Well, I'm going to go over some of the transactions that we've made this week because there's been a few of them.
Okay.
We signed Nick McLeod. He's a cornerback, and placed kicker Zane Gonzalez on injured reserve. We probably won't see him back. Waived running back Anthony Hankerson. Reverted defensive back Omar Brown to injured reserve. Signed safety Tanner Waldo a contract. Claimed cornerback Amari Harvey off waivers from Pittsburgh. Waived quarterback Mark Gronowski and waived injured safety Omar Brown. And the last set was on the 5th. They claimed tight end Jeremiah Franklin off waivers from the Patriots and signed defensive tackle Fatorma Mulba and waived outside linebacker Seth Coleman-Lyles. They placed defensive end Rene Conga on injured reserve. Just swapping bodies and, trying to fill out the roster the best way they can.
Yeah, we'll see a lot more of that, I think, over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure, because they're going to be churning the bottom of the roster, which is really what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Giving up on that quarterback already, huh?
Yeah. Gronowski.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a very good camp, if you listen to the daily reports.
Yeah,
who was that? I missed who you said, Chris.
Gronowski.
Oh, okay.
That quarterback that had the most wins in college football history.
Yeah.
But he went undrafted. I mean, Quinn Ewers is another guy who is not having a good camp at all. I've read nothing but bad things about him. So that's not.
But you know what you got to consider with that? He's playing with a second-team line and scrub receivers,
Yeah, and he's learning a new system, too.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, somewhat of a new system.
Yep. So, I think you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. Not that you don't want him to do better, but there's a reason why he's not doing well.
Yeah.
Let me, since we're on the subject of quarterbacks, guys, do you think that, at the cuts, as the preseason develops and, they go into, say, the final preseason game and there's some quarterback cuts, do you think they'll go out and grab somebody? Because I think they very well might. They may bring a couple of guys in here to take a look at that point. It
could happen. I don't know if they bring in a couple of guys, but I could see them bringing one in.
Well, right now we have how many quarterbacks in camp?
We have 3. We have Quinn Ewers and Cam Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Willis.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see them possibly doing it just to potentially pick up like a more of a scrambling quarterback or somebody that's similar to Malik Willis's skill set. That way, if he does go down for whatever reason, you don't have to change the offense completely like we've seen in years past. But I don't know. Hafley keeps saying that he wants to win. He's expecting us to win some games, so. I don't think that he's going to go the absolute tanking route and as far as like putting guys in positions that he knows they're not going to succeed,
that is funny, Chris. You brought up a good point just now, in regard to the guys that we picked up at quarterback, to back up Tua. They were so different, right? Mm-hmm. Than what, not so much Ewers, but the other guys that we've had in.
Thompson,
yeah,
Snoop Huntley.
Yep.
Did you see what happens? Skylar Thompson is going to miss the season after missing last season on injured reserve. He's now back on injured reserve.
Damn.
Really?
That's unfortunate. Yeah. He's with the Steelers, right? Maybe with a new team this year.
I think he's with a new team. I want to say Detroit, but I'm not sure.
Damn.
Wow. Well, that sucks. That really sucks for him. He got hurt again in practice, huh?
Yep.
I'm looking him up right now to see exactly where he was.
It's just Pittsburgh.
Yep. He was with Pittsburgh.
So where was he last year?
Pittsburgh.
Okay, because I heard it was with
Actually, he was with the Ravens, Chris.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right.
He was with the Ravens this year.
Google lied to me.
Google that to you.
Yeah, I knew it was somebody other than Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was Baltimore, Mike. You were correct for a change.
Semi-correct. I didn't remember the team.
All right.
But I feel bad for the guy. I like Skylar.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny because we do watch, some of the guys as they move on. The Brooks over in Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's still there, and he's going to play somewhat of a role there as a backup. He's fighting for that number 2 position.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs may end up missing some time with his legal stuff going on. So,
right,
we may see a bigger dose of him, this Chris Brooks this year.
Yep. All right.
So let's talk about this depth chart a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Chris, why don't you take a look and tell me what your thoughts are? What jumps out at you?
Well, the first thing that jumps out for me, and it's not even just the Charlie Heck, Case, and Wallace battle, but this is the first time I've ever seen not just one, but like multiple people where it says or. Like they're not giving anybody the second or third string. They're saying or.
Right.
But the biggest thing that's jumping out to me looking at this is Kenneth Grant or Jordan Phillips at that starting defensive tackle position next to Sealer. So, Hafley's letting it be known that, I don't care if you were a first-round pick last year, that wasn't us. We didn't make that pick. You're going to be fighting for your position as he should, just like everybody else on the team. So, that definitely really stands out. The Tyrell Dotson or Jacob Rodriguez at the other starting inside linebacker position. The Brooks is something that I like, Aside from that, I'm not really seeing anything that's super surprising on here. Oh, yeah, well, Zane Anderson at the other starting safety position next to our guy Dante Trader. That's definitely interesting and hopefully not the case week 1.
Yeah. Taff, how do you say his name? Taff, is going to definitely push for for that position. To me, looking at it, what's interesting is, that cornerback situation. If you looked at the depth chart a few weeks ago, you had different guys in different places. Brents is a starting cornerback right now, which to me is quite interesting. And they have Johnson at that nickelback position. So to me, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And Boner has moved up. He was 4th on the depth chart when they initially had this depth chart out. He's now number 2 behind Brent's on the opposite side. Behind Brent's on that one side, and then Marshall Jr., of course, is on the other side. And you don't have, who was it that was hurt last year? Storm Duck's not on here at all. I guess you can't really put him on there until he comes back.
Yeah, he's on the PUP.
And he's healthy, yeah. So, that secondary is quite interesting. You already talked about the safety position, Chris. It's, there's, that Brent's I like a lot. I think we all like him, right? I think we're all, as long as he's healthy, feel like he should be a decent player, Juju. Marshall, what are you guys' thoughts on him? Marshall Jr.?
I haven't really seen enough of him to give you a solid opinion.
Yeah, I liked what we saw out of him last year. Majority of his play time was at nickel. And he wasn't really a nickel corner in college. He's kind of a longer, lengthy cornerback, but I kind of liked what I saw out of him. He put a couple good plays on tape, and then he, got beat a few times, but I think he was a 3rd-round pick for us or something like that last year. So, he's a guy who played plenty of football in college, and, I'd like to see him get another shot, especially in this defense. Hafley's specialty is that defensive back group. So,
right.
Obviously he sees something in Marshall that, he can compete. But, going back to what I've said since we drafted Chris Johnson, and heard Halfley's plan on playing him at, the nickel, and I just, I'll say this again, this is like a pick that is pretty important as far as this rebuild, given the fact that we gave up Jalen Waddle, and this is the guy we're replacing him with. So, I mean, I don't know if them playing him at nickel is just because they're not loving the stuff that they're seeing him on the outside, or maybe it's the fact that he is our best nickel corner. But to me, when you draft a cornerback in the first round, you want him outside, you want him on the perimeter, you want him guarding the best receivers at all times. And if they line up in the slot, then that's cool that he's versatile enough to put him in the slot. But if you have him in that starting role, and that's where he's going to be playing majority of his snaps against these slot receivers and stuff like that with, the better guys on the outside, I don't love that, so, but we'll see. I mean, we just got to see how it works. Out. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, there's a little bit of strategy involved in a lot of these picks that they made. When you look at the tight end that we drafted, he's going to be a role player. And, maybe they feel that this guy is going to be just a lockdown nickel corner. And, maybe eventually, they move him out there, maybe even during the middle of the season. We just don't know what we're going to see. But it is interesting, Chris, with the situation. It's not like we have, Lester Hayes and Michael Haynes, back there. That people probably won't even relate to that, But, with all that being said, how about Ty Law? You know that name, right? Yeah. You've got Richard Sherman. How's that? I mean, these guys that we have there right now that we talked about, I mean, you would think that he'd have an easy road to a starting position at that outside corner. But, maybe they're just going to ease him in. And then eventually he'll take over one of those outside slots. But for now, that's where they have him penciled in, and we're going to go with their strategy on this, and their philosophies on what they want out of players.
It's still early. We got a lot of time to go before we open up against the Raiders.
We do and we don't, Mike.
Yeah,
you think it's a lot of time, but it's really not. I mean, it's 3 weeks.
It's a month.
Yeah. I mean, we have, our first game this week, and we have 2 more thereafter. So,
right. And then you have a couple of weeks in our game, our real game.
Yep.
It's actually almost exactly a month away.
Yeah. The thing that stands out, when you look at the roster right now is that, we have to avoid injuries because it's not a deep roster. As far as, if you look at it right now, it's not a deep roster at all, across the offensive line, the secondary. I mean, if you have guys go down, and boy, did we have a ton go down last year in that secondary, right? I mean, we were just brutalized by how many guys got hurt. There's not a lot of depth there. And, they just have to build the team back up. It's as simple as that. And hopefully the guys that they did draft are big parts of the equation going forward, like Chris mentioned, like Johnson and like Rodriguez, who's, fighting for his starting position at that inside linebacker position. All these, the tight end I mentioned, all these guys have to become part of the equation going forward, whether it's depth-wise, or, just to play, a certain role on the team going forward. And, they have to build upon that. And hopefully, what they did this year in the draft is a starting point. And these guys are on the roster for the next 4 years, and they're productive in the process here.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back for just a couple minutes, and we'll be right back.
So,
yeah, and there's actually one more thing that is catching my eye looking at this depth chart, and it's Trey Moore, penciled in as a starter right now as one of these 3 inside linebackers. And he's a guy who, Halfley talked a little bit about, and, he was a guy who was an edge in college but can play that inside linebacker. It almost makes you think, like, are they going to use him in like a Van Ginkel type of role or something like that, where they're just, they're blitzing him a lot and they're having him line up in the inside sometimes and then blitzing off the edge in certain packages. So, they've talked him up pretty nice. So, maybe we find a diamond in the rough in him too. I mean, just like Van Ginkel, he wasn't drafted very high either. And, he's turned into one of the best. I mean, I don't even know what you would classify him as, but he's turned into one of the best playmaking linebackers in the league. So, I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be just like Van Ginkel. I'm just saying, he's versatile. He can play these different positions. And if they have him penciled in as a starter already, obviously he's doing things that Hafley likes.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, at the draft right now, he's the one guy that is technically a starter, right?
Yeah.
Even Johnson is not a starter at this point, in a base offense. He's our nickelback. So out of all the draft picks, he's the only guy on the depth chart right now that is at the top of it at his position.
Well, you got Proctor too, but yeah, aside from him.
Well, Proctor, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forgot about Proctor. He's there as well. And then, at the wide receiver position, while we're on it,
Well,
it's
also
interesting.
Have receiver,
Go ahead.
Caleb Douglas.
You just cut me off while I was getting that. No, it's fine. At wide receiver, you also have Douglas, who's moved up in the depth chart to that number one position. I missed him initially, and I was just going to comment on that as well, which to me is interesting, right? They're saying he's having a pretty good camp, and Chris, you were kind of down and out on that fella.
Yeah, no, it definitely was, and he's having a great camp, and he had some more big plays today in this scrimmage against a different team. So
yeah,
that you like to hear. I mean, we didn't hear too much positives about the offense, but they said Malik was moving good. He made some plays, and Caleb Douglas pretty much made all the big plays that were made today. So
yeah,
I definitely was down on him when we drafted him, just given the other receivers that were on the board. But I'm praying that I'm wrong on that. So
his issue is not getting open. His issue has been drops.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
so he's got to become a little more sure-handed, and he just might be a pretty good receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. As long as he holds on to the football. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. And Atwell's not having a very good camp. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I said there's no guarantee that some of these veterans are even going to make the team. And, Atwell's got to step up, or else he may not. If these young guys are all playing well, and some of these other veterans that they brought in are playing better than he is, then, there's no need for it. I don't think this regime is really going to care about veterans or, free agents that were signed or whatever the case may be. They're just going to go with the best 53, and it's simple as that,
Yeah.
What you got to do.
Yeah. That's what you got to do. We watched it. Go ahead, Mike. Real quick before you get started on something else. We watched guys on the roster, and we value the grades to an extent. We don't sit there, and it's not the Bible that we're reading, right, when we read the grades after a football game. But I'm not going to mention any names, Mike, but you know as well as I do. I mean, we would look at the grades and say, my God, why is this guy in formations, or this guy or that guy getting this playing time when they're grading out so horribly week in and week out? I mean, there's not a necessity for it. And we question that quite a bit. Because it was consistent, and it was consistent over a year or two.
We also questioned the grades quite a bit.
Yeah,
we did to an extent, but they can't be wrong week in and week out, right? To the extent that we were looking at. I mean, the grades were just hideous. I mean, hideous week in and week out. So yeah, maybe they were a little rough here and there, but blocking wise or running pat, whatever the case may be. And we saw basically the same group going out week in and week out, in the past regime. And hopefully that's not the case. If somebody's not doing the job, then boom, out. try somebody else. Maybe they'll step up in game situations. So let's hope we don't see a lot of that.
You bet.
Same players, same results.
I want to read something that Halfley said.
Okay.
And then I want you to tell me how you relate to this, okay?
What's so funny?
You'll see.
Okay, good.
We go out there and we play harder than our opponent. We play together, we play smart, and we play together, and we continue to grow this thing and get better. That's not going to be broken. The other stuff's not real. It's not going to sustain. The way we want to build this thing right now is we want to build it so it's right and it lasts, not like this quick fix. Let's get all fired up and then it implodes. We got to go through some stuff together here and find out who we really are and who we can trust and count on when things get hard. And when I hear that, when I heard him say that, I automatically associate it to the way they built the team that was the previous regime.
Yes, it's a knock at them is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then, he goes on to say, we got to have guys we can count on when things go bad.
Yeah.
And things are hard.
Yep.
And you know what happens with veterans when things get hard. They want to be traded,
Yeah.
They don't want to go through something like we're going through now,
Yeah.
So...
And that's a knock at, I think, personally, Tyreek. I mean, it's we all know this whole situation with him, not coming back to win into games and, telling the coach he's done, so on and so forth, and then wanting out of here as soon as the season's over. And, I know there's a lot of emotions involved, but, you don't do that kind of stuff. To me, it's babyish. It really is. It's like a kid that's a sore loser. And, these are the guys that are your veterans on the team. And, they come out and they basically make these type of comments. Now, even if you're a young football player, right, on a football team, and you look at this guy and you're like, my goodness, this guy is supposed to be one of our leaders. And this is the type of attitude that he has. And you look at Tua. I mean, we could talk about these guys now because they're not here anymore. We didn't like to bash our team and be negative on a consistent basis when they were with us because, it's just not a good thing, especially when you're doing podcasts and stuff. And but now that they're gone, you would always, Tua would take some blame, but there was always... some other avenue that he would take it to where, I mean, this is what happened and that's what happened. It wasn't
I
because
have to play better, but
right, exactly. There was always, other avenues he went down instead of just flat out saying, listen, I stunk, my decisions were not good. I had opportunities that I missed over and over again. Things that we consistently saw. So, getting back to what I was saying, as a young player that's on your football team, they're watching this sort of thing, and there's no accountability. There never was, not even from the coaching staff or the head coach. He never had accountability for these guys, and that basically, sets the tone, and it's a bad tone to set. So I think that with these new guys that are here, the new head coach, the new coaching staff, I think, the examples that are going to be set are going to be in a totally different way. And the comments that he made, Mike, were definitely a shot at the old regime and some of the players that were here, without a question of a doubt. I mean, so those are my thoughts.
Very coincidental.
There's not. These guys are smart enough, Mike, and as well as I do, that there was some shots being taken there. That's how I feel. I mean, Chris, go ahead. You can.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a possibility, but I also feel like he was just telling us how he feels and how he's going to run the show. Whether or not that was relevant to what our last regime was, he was just letting us know and everybody else know that that's not how this is going this time around. And
exactly.
I love it. So, I don't, I've seen clips of McDaniel's pressers with the Chargers, and I'm just so happy we don't have to listen to that shit anymore.
Jibber jabber.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate McDaniel, but I hated listening to his pressers,
Exactly.
whether we won or we lost, because it would just be like, dude, you just gave an answer that was over a minute long, and
You didn't say
we didn't
anything.
get anything out of it, or like you said a bunch of words, but you could have just gave us one sentence, and it would have been like, okay, cool, and that's why I like Halfley, because Halfley has that seriousness to him, like Flo, but also jokes around with, I watched the Rich Eisen interview that he did yesterday, and he was talking about, real quick, he was talking about Devon Achan's workload and how some games he'll touch the ball 40 to 45 times, and he's going to have to carry Achan off the field, and he was joking around saying that he don't want to see he don't want to see no head taps or nothing like that about guys trying to come off the field. And he's joking, but I know he's also serious about that. So that's why
serious undertones.
I've really enjoyed listening to him talk throughout this whole process, from the moment that he was hired up until the most recent interview with Rich Eisen yesterday that I listened to. So.
I have to tell you, Chris, I have too. I've enjoyed him a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty skeptical about him, but the more I hear him, the more I think he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Agreed, 100%.
It's funny that he says all those type of things, because that was a pet peeve of mine, with the tapping. We'd have a receiver run a deep pattern and then he's tapping out. And our two guys that were here over the last couple of years, did that on a consistent basis.
Plenty of that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
You're our best players. Get your ass out there.
Listen, the game's no different. I mean, we watched Clayton and Duper play, Mike, 99% of the plays, and they were running patterns. They barely ran the football. So they were running patterns, just about every single play of a football game, and you never really saw them coming in and out of games, So,
and they were running deep patterns. They weren't running these little crosses.
Yeah. I mean, the only time I'd give them slack on that was the first year with McDaniel, when they were running so much pre-snap motions that, I'd understand why after a couple. But once they started banning all that after that first year, there really was no excuse for that.
Yep.
So.
And and getting back to McDaniel and his press conference, guys, how many years was he here? 3?
Yeah.
Was it 3 years?
3 seasons.
I can tell you that over the 3 years.
4 seasons.
4 seasons. Over the 4 seasons.
23, 24, and then last year.
My God. 4 years of our lives, guys. Over the 4 years, that he was our head coach, I can honestly sit here and tell you that I may have listened to a total of maybe 10 minutes of his press conferences. Like you guys said, I just couldn't do it. I would start watching one, I'd listen for a minute or two, and then that was it. And literally the last 2 years, I don't think I've listened to any of his press conferences whatsoever over the last 2 years.
And I used to read the transcripts a lot too, because to me that's easier.
Yeah.
The transcripts, Mike, were there a lot of
But you can skip that when you're reading it. When you're hearing it, you can't make it go away.
No, it's horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And it's so funny, because when we go around and, we meet a lot of the ex-players and a lot of the, coaches. We met Gruden. We met, a lot of people that when we do our thing. And, they always, I always bring up the Dolphins, how they felt about, the team as a whole. And they always talk about McDaniel. Like, what is the deal with that guy? I mean, what is his problem? I mean, is he on drugs? Is he, what is the deal with him? And we would just crack up laughing, because, everybody around the country, like, I know you guys don't listen to any other team's head coaches' press conferences. We just don't. There's not enough time in our lives. So when people stumble into them from time to time, and it's not like, we've been a world beater to where, like when New England and Belichick would have his press conferences every single week, you were always seeing them. it's not like the Dolphins were a top-tier team. So, you even see less of him. But when people did, they were just like, they were like, what is the deal with that guy? So like Chris said, I'm happy that we've moved on. When you listen to our head coach now, he sounds like he knows what he's doing. He does know what he's doing.
Let's talk about him as a speaker for a second.
Right.
When do you think the last coach, who do you think the last coach was that spoke better than him? All right, guys, we're going to break for a few moments, and we'll be right back. Hey, guys, this is Mike again, breaking in for a second just to ask a favor of you. We would like to request that you go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and rate the show. Let us know how we're doing. We'd very much appreciate it. Thank you, and fins up.
The last coach that spoke, other than Schuler, right? I mean, we're not putting Schuler in this mix. You're talking about after Schuler.
Yes.
AS.
Yeah, because we picked Schuler. There's no doubt about that.
Right. Schuler was always, he always sounded intelligent, and he would get so pissed off after losses. You could just hear the anger in him, when they would lose football games.
Disappointment.
It's interesting, Mike, because, man, I mean, Gase,
no.
Jesus, he was horrible. Philbin was horrible.
Oh, my gosh.
You almost have to go back to, Flores never, in his press conferences, you never really got a lot out of them. He was a hard ass.
Belichick, definitely from from that cloth.
Same tree.
Cut from that. So you never really got, you got basically, you got a very, very abbreviated response, and he wasn't really going to go into depth on anything. It was just a very blunt answer over and over again. So you have to go back to, the fella that went on to become a great college coach. That would Saban. Yeah. I mean, you got to go back to him. His press conferences were always, you always felt like, he was, you had an intelligent guy in front of you speaking about football, So I would say Saban. Probably,
Wannstedt for you?
I would say
my God. Wannstedt. What?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Compared to these other guys? Yes.
Oh, come on.
He was a good speaker.
I'll tell you guys my favorite.
Jimmy Johnson?
Nope. It was Tony Sperano. I loved listening to him. I mean, he had that gangster approach.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that I'd run through a wall for. I mean, we had Dan Campbell as an interim for those couple games, and I loved his
Too short though, Chris.
Yeah,
no,
I know. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm not going to go Dan Campbell. I'll say Sperano, because what did Sperano get? Like a full year and a half or something like that?
I think a little bit over a year. Yeah, he was very
Rest
good
in
too.
Peace, by the way.
Yeah.
He was,
Yeah,
I liked him.
I liked his personality. I liked the way he carried himself. Mm-hmm. I didn't like what the organization did to him.
Yeah, that was the whole Bill Parcells.
Yeah, but let's face it. I mean, he wasn't doing a great job. So
no, I mean,
he came up with the what was that? What was the offense we ran there? The Wildcat. Yeah. And he did beat the pants off of Belichick and the Patriots that one game, which was fantastic. And they did. Team struggled with that initially, which was great. And that Patriot game, I mean, they were all looking around at each other like, "What the hell? Classic. What the hell's going on here?"
That was just classic.
Oh, it was great. Awesome. I mean, it was great.
Ronnie Brown had a career day.
Yeah, they were fantastic that day. Boy, did they go in there and they threw something at Belichick, Mr. 4 Soup 5
Soup. Like Sean Payton in Denver.
Yeah, when we steamrolled them 770 points, that was great.
Yeah, they weren't
one of the funnest times under McDaniel. Probably the funnest game.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that was dominant. We could have scored 70 points that day. I mean, we just eased up.
73.
Yeah.
How many did we 70. Score?
We could have 70. We could have had 73.
We could have scored 80.
Could have broke the record, but McDaniel said he didn't want to run up the score.
Well, late in the game, they kind of eased up, but I mean, they literally could have got to 80. They couldn't stop us.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So, anything you guys wanted to talk about as far as the scrimmage today?
Chop Robinson looked really good again today, and I just, he's a guy we've been talking about for a few years now, and just hearing how the players are talking about how he looks physically, put on about 10 pounds, and just to hear how he's been eating up our linemen, and then even today had another good day. It's just, that's what we want to hear. That's one of the thinnest groups on this team. So, he's going to be a very important piece. And yeah, aside from that, we talked about Caleb Douglas. We could talk about the guys who didn't practice today for a second. Chris Johnson, Juju Brents. Chris Johnson, they didn't really say what it was or the extreme, what it actually is. Zach Sealer wasn't there. They're saying he's going to be week to week. You don't love to hear that, but
Nope.
at least it's week to week and not, anything longer
After
than
the
that.
season,
So,
right.
yeah, exactly. Or even, he's going to miss an extended period of time. So,
What about Austin?
Austin did not practice, I don't think, today as well. So,
Right. Okay.
yep, that's about it. That's all I got.
It's early. We got weeks,
The secondary did not look good from what I hear, and the receivers were spotty, on offense. And Malik was under some pressure. The offensive line did not protect him as well as he needs to be protected.
Yeah, and Dante Trader also didn't practice today. So, I would assume that Jaden Daniels, him being a really good one of the best quarterbacks in the league, had himself a day. What's interesting about that, one of our former guys, first-round picks, Lemery Tunsil, I don't think it was today, but he tore his tricep or something like that recently.
Wow.
He's most likely going to miss the year, which is definitely going to hurt them.
Wow, big.
He's not quite what he once was, but even this past offseason, they made him the highest-paid offensive lineman
he's their
of
best
all time.
lineman.
So,
Yep.
let's hope.
And
he
their
has a
offensive
speedy
line
recovery. No, it was bad.
It was bad last year, and that's definitely going to hurt. Injuries. I'll tell you what, one or two, and they really flip your team. They really do. It's tough. It's tough to have depth, as we know. In these teams, when they lose a guy like that, it's a big step backwards, without a question of a doubt. So,
Well, they've got a tackle in his place. So, the guy, next man up,
Next man up.
Next man up. We know all about it. So
we sure do.
Right now we got about 50 next mans.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we'll see how it goes. They got a while before they have to start cutting, I think, right?
Yep.
So,
couple weeks here.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully some of these rookies really do make a push and push some of the players, that aren't doing well out of the starting lineup.
So they're doing the top 100 players as they do every single year. And our highest rated player, Devon Achane, came in at number 26. So the 26th best player in all of the NFL, voted by his peers. And I watched a clip of them talking about him, and it was James Cook, the Buffalo running back. They even had, Jordan Poyer, who played for us but also played for the Bills, talking about him. And, just watching some of those highlights, man, I just love watching Devon Achane run the football. And, I'm happy that he's getting the praise that he deserves, because as far as, this is kind of stupid, but the Madden ratings, he's not even a top 10 running back on Madden, which everybody's like, that's ridiculous.
Gotta be shitting me. Where was he ranked among, how many running backs were ranked above?
I want to say he was like 12th or 13th.
12th?
Something like that. Yeah,
No. There can't be 12 running backs ahead of him if there's 26 overall. You're talking about overall?
No. I'm talking about his Madden ratings.
Forget about Madden.
What he's saying,
I'm talking about 100% sure, because I don't think they came with number one. They released like parts of them at a time.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna. I only put very few guys at the running back position above him right now, and that's Gibbs and Bijan, maybe Jonathan Taylor.
McCaffrey, you got
McCaffrey, absolutely.
Yeah, he's top 6.
And then maybe
Lowest
Derrick
top 7.
Henry. Then maybe Derrick Henry. I can't think of anybody else. And I'd rather have Achane right now than Henry. I really would at this point.
Well, yeah, of course. Henry's 30-something years old.
No, I'm talking about for one season. For one season, Chris.
I mean, they're completely different running backs.
They are.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but if we're talking about Derrick Henry in his prime versus Achane in his prime, then it's a little bit different story. I mean, Henry's kind of at the tail end of his career, and
I still wouldn't want to tackle him.
No, hell no.
and I'll be honest with you too, Chris. I mean, I may slip him in front of McCaffrey because McCaffrey misses time over and over again, and Achane doesn't. Achane, for the most part, how many games has he missed over his 4 years? Not a lot.
Yeah, but I'd also be very surprised if he has the length of the career that McCaffrey has. Because, I mean, if you look back at McCaffrey's career, I mean, I want to say probably 3 seasons where he's been hurt and he's missed an extensive amount of time. But for the most part, he's been pretty healthy. And, not last year, but 2 years ago, he was dealing with those 2 calf injuries. And then last year, he was one of only 5 guys that had over 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns receiving, and that's mostly he's the only guy on that list that was a running back. The rest of them obviously are all wide receivers. So just that alone, he played all 17 games, or I think he played 16 games. He didn't play that last one or whatever because I think they got knocked out of the playoffs. But I mean, when he's healthy, to me, he's probably the best receiving running back I've ever seen in my life. So
right. Well, the guy we have and the guy we're talking about, if he gets the opportunity, I feel that you can line him up at wide receiver, and he'd be extremely productive. That's my thought process on him.
The coach agrees with you.
Yeah, and Chris, I'll tell you what. I mean, you were a little bit off in regard to McCaffrey. He's had 4 seasons to where he's missed a lot of football. In 2020, he only played in 3 games. 2021, 7. 2024, he only played in 4 games. So he's missed an extreme amount of time in 3 games.
How long has he been in the league, though? That's,
Oh, yeah, he's up. That's why I'm saying that. I mean, if I had to take a guy, you were talking about McCaffrey. If it's for 1 season and he's completely healthy, yes. I think McCaffrey may very well be the best all-around running back, but at
this point in their career, I get what you're saying.
He played all 17 games last year, and he's in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, Devon played 11 games and started 4 his rookie season.
Yeah, well, that's
he had an injury, I believe.
Yeah, he had a couple. He missed a game or 2 with a concussion, and then he also had a knee or ankle
something. Yeah.
And then last year he had that calf injury
going into
week 1, and then he.
I think he's only missed like 1 game the last 3 seasons. In a row.
No, he's been good.
1 game the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The 3rd season was the season he only played 4. Started 4.
Okay. So he's only going into his 4th season.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know why I keep thinking he's going into season 5. That's fantastic. I mean, last 2 seasons to miss 1 game as a running back, and he's got how many carries did he have, Mike, the last 2 years?
238 last year and 203 the year before.
Yeah, pretty good amount of carries last year.
He'll probably have 400 this year.
Yep. Yeah, McCaffrey's a beast. I don't want to take anything away from that guy. He's incredible. I mean, he's at the top of the list, Chris. Oh, we forgot about Barkley as well. He's another guy you got to throw in there.
For sure.
But Achane's up there. There's no question about it. He's a different animal too. All of these guys that we mentioned. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is a great receiver. But man, Bijan can catch the football.
Yeah.
Gibbs. I mean, these guys are all, they may not be as good as Achane catching the football, but they're all very, very capable. I mean, there's some talented running backs in the league. And then there's a big drop off after you got those top 6 or 7 guys. So we're fortunate to have one of the top guys in the league, without a doubt.
And he's definitely fun to watch, so that adds to it,
He sure is.
Some guys are just
great.
steady, but he's dynamic.
No doubt.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining me, and thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week, and until then, fins up.
Fins up.
Fins up, Dolphins.
And that's the end of another show. I want to thank the Believe Network for allowing us to join them this year, and the Dolphins Talk Network, who we've been a part of for many years. I want to thank both of these outfits. They're exceptional people, and we're proud and honored just to be a part of it. Until next time, take care.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.